Today, we're going to be doing our recap for the NCAA Wrestling Week 2 results. So first off, the box scores for most of the duels. This one was pretty weird. Had some good Big Ten duels. We saw like schools like Nebraska, Minnesota, Rutgers, Michigan all wrestle. But then what was crazy is Gardner-Webb just having an absolute horrible weekend. Not only did they get shut out 45-0 by North Carolina, got shut out by Virginia 44-0, and actually they ended up losing a point off of a bench violation. So the final score was 44 to -1, which was crazy. You can look that up. It was really weird. In all my years of wrestling, I've never seen anyone go into the negatives on a team score or even a score in general in wrestling. So that was pretty weird. Other than that, got some good duels by North Dakota State. They wrestled pretty well. NC State also wrestled pretty well. Nebraska had a good win over Minnesota. Illinois destroyed Indiana. And Michigan had a good win over Rutgers even without their best wrestler, Stevan Micic. Really proven to be probably top 5, top 4 school in the whole entire NCAA. And now after week 2, got some updated rankings. 15 was Rutgers, 14 is Minnesota after taking a loss to Nebraska, and so on and so forth. In the top 5 being Oklahoma State, doing pretty well with Dayton Figs. You got Bulawan and a few other great wrestlers. Then at number 4, we got NC State, who also has a very really good team. No super set of wrestlers, but their team is pretty well built. And number 3 is Michigan. They've got some great wrestlers, especially in freshman Dylan Ragsdale, who we'll get to later on in the segment of the show. And then at number 2, Penn State, and at number 1, Iowa. Even though these guys haven't wrestled yet, they are still pretty dominant teams in the past and have pretty good lineups going into the season. So we should see every school in the NCAA wrestle by the 3rd week, which is next week. Now this week there were a ton of upsets. Starting off at 125, Dylan Ragsdale had a fall in like around a minute against 19th ranked guy Nick Aguilar off of like a standing cow catcher. It was pretty crazy, and that was at 125 pounds. Had a few upsets at 133, at 141. We saw number 9 guy Justin Simon being knocked off. At 157, we saw 10th ranked guy Ja'Cory Teamer getting knocked off. I had a bunch of upsets. It was a pretty crazy week. Anthony from Oklahoma also got knocked off. I think that was at 174. So yeah, there was a lot of upsets this weekend, so I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can pause the video if you want to read all those. Now for our 3 takeaways, starting off at number 1, Dylan Ragsdale is the real deal. I seen him wrestle a little bit. Went to Montini Catholic in Illinois, where I'm from. He's a pretty stud wrestler there. I think he was a 2 or 3-time Illinois State champion. And then he made a huge splash on the senior level scene in freestyle on the past summer, maybe like 4 months ago, when he got a 2nd at senior nationals after getting huge upsets over guys like Darian Cruz, who were projected to go top 5 or at least top 3 in the senior nationals. Ended up knocking off Darian Cruz first round and knocked off a bunch of guys until he lost to Vito in the finals. Then a month later, won U23s. He was just out of high school, had no college wrestling experience, and a lot of people thought he would be pretty good in freestyle, and they were right. But he still was unproven in folk style. But after this weekend, had a pretty good standing cow catcher and looked pretty good out there on the mat against Nicholas Aguilar. So I think it's safe to say that this kid is a pretty good wrestler and possibly could be one of those breakout freshmen that we've seen in the past. So keep an eye on him from Michigan, Dylan Ragsdale. Now the second takeaway, if you did not already know, Missouri had some pretty good guys in the start of the season, and they still do. Didn't really have a set lineup. They were just wrestling some guys out, but finally did come out with their lineup. They're going to be starting Jared Jaquise at 157, bumping Keegan O'Toole up since it's a year of non-eligibility and whatnot. So they're just going to bump Keegan up since he's a freshman and keep Jared Jaquise at his own weight of 157. Now, in my opinion, since it is a year of free eligibility, I would have gone with the better wrestler, as I have said before, and to a lot of people's eyes, that would be Keegan O'Toole. So I don't really know why the Missouri coach pushed him to 165. There is probably a reason for it. Maybe it's hard for him to make weight, but he seems like a disciplined kid, so I don't really understand why they pushed him up, but that is going to be Missouri's new lineup, and they have gotten Rocky Elam back again, so they are probably going to be a team to be reckoned with going into the NCAA wrestling season. And then finally, Oklahoma State has a crazy freshman class. They got three pretty good wrestlers who are true freshmen. They got Travis at 125. I think they got Dustin Platt at 157 or 149, and then they got AJ Ferrari at 197. And AJ Ferrari, as much as he does like to talk on Twitter and trash talk, he is pretty good. That whole entire freshman class has been doing pretty well for Oklahoma State. They've all been undefeated so far, went 2-0 in the weekend, and are pretty good three freshmen that you probably should be watching. So keep an eye on them from Oklahoma State. But yeah, it's going to wrap up our video talking about the results of the NCAA Wrestling Week 2. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, comment down below, and sub for more wrestling content like this. Peace.